You are watching National Telegraph, the pinnacle of concise, objective, and investigative reporting. You are watching National Telegraph, the pinnacle of concise, objective, and investigative reporting. You are watching National Telegraph, the pinnacle of concise, objective, and investigative reporting. You are watching National Telegraph, the pinnacle of concise, objective, and investigative reporting. You are watching National Telegraph, the pinnacle of concise, objective, and investigative reporting. You are watching National Telegraph, the pinnacle of concise, objective, and investigative reporting.
Hello there. Happy Sunday and welcome to National Telegraph Television. My name is Eric Tato in Washington. Today is a special edition of your favorite show, The Map, and this is only on National Telegraph. In this edition, we have a special guest, the firebrand former African Union ambassador to the United States, Dr. Arikana Chimbo-Ekwo. She's right here in the studio with us, and we're very happy to have you, Ambassador. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to greet all of you who are watching from every part of the world by now, Africa, those watching from Europe, and in Washington especially. And of course, we are quite pleased to have Ambassador here. As you're aware, for the longest time in the history of the African Union, nobody was quite aware of an African Union mission in Washington until Ambassador Arikana came. As a matter of fact, and going by media statistics, a lot was not being said about the African Union in Washington. But when she came, her charismatic nature, down-to-earth, receptive nature, being a mother that she has always been, she pulled the crowd and tried to bring the African diaspora, especially in Washington and other states of the United States, together. Before you knew it, the African Union mission in Washington became a home for all Africans, irrespective of where you come from, your religion, your culture, whatever you were, you go and make sure you were there. And that was only done by one person, Ambassador Arikana. Her innovative tendencies helped to change the landscape of the geopolitics of the African Union in Washington, and that became a song bell that everybody enjoyed going there. Once more, you're welcome. Today, we'll have an exclusive interview with her on how she left office, the controversies, and some of the things she faced. Also got aware that when she was leaving office, she made mention of some particular entitlements that the African Union was going to pay her, which is logical and legal. But then, after congratulating her, the chairman of the African Union, after a second thought for a long while when she was going out of office, brought up another letter, probably, not even probably, that has been interpreted by many people in the diaspora, including this media house, as a sabotage on Ambassador Arikana Chimborikwa. Ambassador, once more, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's just go quickly and to say hello to those who are watching from Zimbabwe and Ghana, because you're from Zimbabwe and you're married to a Ghanaian.
Yes.
So
yes.
Let us ask briefly, who is Ambassador Arikana before we get to other things?
Arikana Chiyombori is a little girl who was born in a village called Chivu in Zimbabwe, a proud mother of 5 children, a proud grandmother of 5, and a wife to 1 Ghanaian man.
Lucky man, I guess.
Yes, he is.
All right. So, I mean, you call Dr. Arikana, apart from the fact that you're ambassador. A lot of
Yes.
people get curious about this doctor stuff. And I told some of my friends, she's doctor par excellence, like in the medical field per se. How are you going to corroborate this?
Well, what's the question again?
How are you going to put this in perspective? Like
being a doctor, being an ambassador?
Yeah.
Well, you'll be surprised actually that unknown to me, being a medical doctor actually more than prepared me for diplomacy. You have to understand when you are dealing with patients on a daily basis, you think when a patient goes to the doctor, they are going to tell the doctor the truth. Not all the time, especially us women when we are dealing with issues of spouse abuse and we feel like we don't need to air our dirty linen. And so as a doctor, you have to try and figure out if this headache is truly something organic or is it something that's going on at home. So through the questioning, we are able to extrapolate the conditions, the environment at home. So you naturally and automatically, without thinking, you're constantly psychoanalyzing people, all the way to their intellectual capacity. If you have to prescribe medication to a patient, you also have to look at it and say, is this patient going to be capable of following the instructions? Is this somebody I can comfortably say, I'll see you back in 1 week? Or is this someone I'll say, you know what? You may have to come to the office every day and get your medication. So we are constantly reading between the lines, extrapolating, going home, going to the school, going to the workplace. So now, after a while, you just learn how to read people. And so diplomacy is much the same way. To my surprise, I found all those attributes that I acquired over the 30 years I was in medicine, 5 years of training and 25 years of private practice. That being a doctor has really served me well. And as a matter of fact, I can comfortably say being a doctor more than prepares you for diplomacy.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now we go into other things. When were you appointed African Union Ambassador to the United States?
I reported for duty December 1st, 2016. I was appointed by the then chairman of the African Union, Madam Zuma.
Oh, yeah. Madam Zuma was then chairperson when you were appointed.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people have described the action of the now African Union chair as unscrupulous and quite illegitimate, to say the least. Do you accept with that view? Because as far as we know at the National Telegraph, your tenure wasn't over just yet.
Well, the chair had the prerogative to terminate my contract at any time. That's up to him, and we all serve at the discretion of the chair. However, there are processes that must be followed when you terminate an ambassador's contract. The man never spoke to me about anything that he may have felt I was doing wrong. I was in New York City attending UNGA. He was there too. He was aware I was there. And I'm pointing that out to say, because it's 10 days after we left UNGA that I got a call from his chief of staff. If he felt that this was going to be his decision, the right thing to have done is to just say, Ambassador, come, let's talk. This is what I've decided to do, and there's no problem. That would have been fine. But instead, he chose to just send his chief of staff to call me and inform me of his decision. That was of concern to me. The least he could have done is talk to me. But of course, in his world, I'm just a woman. He can just toss me to the curb like a piece of trash. But I'm here to let him know that actually I do matter. And I matter just like any other man. So the manner in which it was handled was wrong. To this day, I still have not spoken to him. He has not had the decency to call me.
All right. Now, very quickly, Ambassador, a lot of people, I can say 90% of the people who came across the issue of the termination of your contract as AU ambassador to the United States actually hold the opinion that it is because you spoke about something considered a taboo in the world about what France has been doing in Africa. Do you think these perspectives might be just correct?
Well, I have been very outspoken, and I know the issues that I'm raising. Excuse me.
Right.
The issues that I'm raising, they are issues that have been taboo, like you rightfully say. They are issues that make people uncomfortable. I am raising issues that are forcing people to have conversations that are uncomfortable. But we as black people, we are the victims of those situations. How long are we going to worry about the perpetrators of the abuse against black people to continue to perpetrate them on us, and we are not supposed to point it out simply because they will be uncomfortable? I have a problem with that. A friend of mine likened it to somebody with a hot rod, and they just keep burning you. They keep burning you, and you keep saying, ouch. You keep saying, ouch. How do you tell somebody who is burning you to stop burning you nicely? How? And this is what we have done as black people.
You seem to have spoken so hard on France, and you know that the now chair of the AU has a lot of ties with France. So people are thinking that maybe politicians in France and some politicians that are pro-French have probably said, you know what, this lady needs to go. And that's what people hope.
Well, again, I honestly, when I started speaking, I looked at my own children, I looked at my own grandkids, and I said, is this the world that I really want to leave behind for them? The answer was no. And so because I know what I would want for my children and my grandchildren, I also know that's what millions of grandmothers there want for their grandkids. That's what millions of mothers there want for their children. I was given a platform to represent 1.27 billion people in the Americas. If I kept quiet to this carnage, then 1.27 billion people would be quiet. I was not going to allow that. I was given a platform to represent, and I represented the best way I knew how, and I was not going to shut up.
Well, I think your views are out there. It's kind of a revolution you have started. A lot of people are out there, they're supporting you. Do you feel very satisfied that at least people recognize the things you're doing?
Oh, I am extremely grateful for the support that I have received from so many diaspora. I actually didn't realize the profound effect I had on the diaspora. You see, as a doctor, you automatically are caring and you are compassionate. I've done that for 30 years. That's what's normal for me. So when the diaspora came to the mission, I continued to show my compassion, my love for humanity, my respect for humanity, and the diaspora appreciated that. But I didn't realize that the extent of it, the profoundness of it. So when those numbers kept coming, I was appalled, I must say. I was really, really surprised. But most of them, though, I remember one young man, as he was leaving the mission, he said, Ambassador, I've been in this country 20 years. I've never been anywhere that I felt like I belonged until I came to the African Union mission. That was profound. That was a young diaspora youth after an event, and two other young men came and echoed the same sentiment. It was a great feeling to know that diaspora are coming to the African Union mission and they are calling it home. And they were committed to participating in building the Africa that we want. You know, I used to have sometimes some people would come to the mission very angry at the heads of states, very angry at the African Union. But I tell you, there is not a single one of them that did not leave the office without saying, you know what, Ambassador, I am the African Union. And the African Union is going to be as good as I make it, because I laid it out to them in a manner that makes sense. You see, you can't point a finger at the African Union because you are the African Union. So if you don't consider yourself the African Union, then who is the African Union? You can't keep pointing fingers and expecting others to fix the African Union so you can waltz in when it's fixed. No, you are the African Union. Together, we can work to perfect our union. And they understood that. So they came in angry, but by the time they left, we were doing high fives and we were ready to move forward and take care of our African Union.
In one of the meetings that I attended with you, as a matter of fact, I noticed the solidarity that the people who came from the meeting, people came from all over.
Yes.
And probably that day, Africans came from, I can say, all the 50 states.
Yes.
And it was so amazing. What has been the secret? How did you do to cajole all these people? How can I put it? Everybody just wants to go to where Ambassador Arikana is there. You have this star figure, everybody's got a soft spot for you. What's the secret? Maybe other diplomats want to learn.
Actually, you know, I have made a commitment. We as black people, we don't like ourselves, let alone each other. We don't trust each other. I have made my commitment that I will trust every African diaspora. I personally have made a commitment that I will trust every African diaspora. Now, if anybody tries to disappoint me, that's on them. And even when they disappoint me, I'm not going to hold it against them. Why? Hey, no family is perfect. Out of 10 people, you're going to find 2 cousins that are going to disappoint you. Do we cease to be family because we got 2 cousins that are misbehaving? Do we cease to be family because we got an alcoholic uncle? We have a menopausal aunt? No, we don't. We work with it. So all I'm asking is every diaspora to make an individual commitment to say, I shall trust my brother. I shall trust my sister. And if they choose to disappoint me, it's on them.
Exactly.
Because it is precisely that self-hate that is keeping us African diaspora from coming together and building the Africa that we want, from doing what other diaspora have done. The Chinese diaspora, they came together. They did not ask what China can give them. They took the position that they were going to build the China that they want. The Indian diaspora are doing the same thing. So we too must not ask, what is Africa giving me? What have you given to Africa? And that's the place that we should come from. To say, I trust you, my brother. And if you choose to disappoint me, it's on you. So I love everybody. And I think for me, that's what comes naturally. I am so full of love. My love is overflowing.
I know.
And it keeps me grounded. It keeps my blood pressure low. And I can honestly tell you, the diaspora are some of the most amazing, incredible people that I've met. And it gives me great joy just spending time with my fellow diaspora.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is National Telegraph Television. We are operating from Washington, and today we're having former African Union ambassador to the United States, to Washington, Dr. Arikana Chimbarakwa. She was prematurely terminated of her post, and this has caused a lot of outburst and outcry in the diaspora, especially in the United States. As a matter of fact, many groups have formed online petition asking that the African Union chair be sacked, or probably should resign, because I'm not sure about sacking him. And as we speak, a lot of people talk about the goodness of Ambassador Arikana. This definitely is no publicity about how good she is. It's just a testimony of what this media has holds of this excellent woman. Now, when you received the termination letter, you also wrote out some of the things that would be your entitlement.
Correct.
What are some of the things you asked that the African Union should comply? You were not resisting to leave office, but you asked of what were you due. Can you let us know these things?
Yes, I had asked that they compensate me for the remainder of the term, which normally, everything being normal, it would be the end of the chairman's term. But again, he chose to abruptly terminate the contract. It's his prerogative, but I did ask that I be compensated to the end of his term, which would be February of 2021. That was not done. All I was given was 3 months' notice. Actually, to be exact, they claimed that the 3 weeks that I remained in office from October 7th was part of my notice. So they only compensated me 2 months and 7 days.
All right. Now, after you got that letter, let me rephrase. You received the termination letter,
Right.
and in the termination letter, I read it myself because I actually published that on our website. You were congratulated for an excellent work, for
Precisely.
bringing the diaspora together, for changing the face of the African Union in the United States. Then you wrote your own letter, and everything seemed to be going well, and people petitioned that you should be reinstated. Then out of the blues, another letter comes out, and I want to get into some of the things that the African chair said, that you formed a lot of groups on your own that was not, some very concerning issues.
Yes,
But then, how can you address this?
Let me tell you, the chairperson of the African Union has really made a mockery of himself. How do you start with a termination letter? First of all, the letter started with, I have the honor to terminate you. Right there was a problem. Who has the honor to terminate somebody? Somebody said, well, maybe he was translating from French and it didn't come out right. Where are the English-speaking people in your office? You have English-speaking people. Where is your legal department? What was the hurry in writing that letter without taking it to legal so they could vet it? One, there's a problem there. Secondly, after you terminate me, 5, 6, 7 days later, you send a team to go find a reason as to why you terminated me. How crazy is that?
Because when you were terminated, no reasons were given.
No.
And then all of a sudden, after a long while...
And not only that, his own spokesperson was on several media, still staying with the same position that no, her term would come to an end, and that the chairperson has the prerogative to terminate the contract at any time. We give you that. So then, a week or so later, you send a team to come find a reason as to why I terminated you. I've never seen anything like that. He is making a mockery of the institution and a mockery of himself. This is as bad as it gets. And this is somebody who is leading such an important institution. This is somebody who is representing 1.27 billion people on the continent and another 250 million around the globe. It is unheard of. It is shameful. And then he follows with a litany of accusations that do not make sense. And let me start with some of them. African Diaspora Health Initiative. It was a decision that was made by the African Ministers of Health in 2009. And I still remember the document, page 14, paragraph 3. It clearly talks about establishment of African Diaspora Health Initiative. This was before my time.
Well, it would appear that he did not even know some of the things going on.
Oh, no, it's pretty clear that he did know.
Because that was a document where you were implementing the decision of the stakeholders of the African Union,
Absolutely.
which are the head of states.
Yes.
And
yes.
so how come the chair now says that you're not supposed to do that?
And not only that, the ADHR is even better. I was appointed by my predecessor, Ambassador Amina Ali, to be the chair, as a diaspora, to be the chair of ADHR.
So your predecessor was already actually
appointed me, yes.
into that project.
Yes, and what she did was appoint me, and she gave me the responsibility to galvanize African doctors and other African diaspora. And we did. We did a lot of work through ADHI. We sent equipment to Africa. We took doctors to Africa. We did a lot of work as ADHI. We never wanted any money from the AU. We did it. Little did I know that I would end up being the next ambassador. So it just so happened that I became the next ambassador. But this entity was already existing since 2009.
So you were appointed in your capacity
as a diaspora,
as a diaspora doctor,
yes,
to run this particular organization,
yes,
in the African Union.
This entity of the African Union, yes. Before I became, So when I became the ambassador, the entity went dormant for about a year or so, and because I was trying to still find my way around Washington and get to know the diaspora, and as I began to understand some of them, I figured, okay, I need to turn this over to another diaspora group, so they can do the same thing that I did when I was a private diaspora and appointed the chair. But I had not even appointed a chair. What I did was I identified a steering committee. This committee was now going, because you have to understand, everything that we do as diaspora, it has to be citizen driven. I do not impose on the diaspora. I make suggestions, I facilitate, but they themselves, the diaspora, they run themselves. So I appointed a steering committee to say, now you all identify your board, and you run this ADHI just like I did when I was a private citizen. You know what he's calling that? Those are the accusation about how I am appointing people to diplomatic status. How do I appoint anybody to be a diplomat? From what platform? So you see how stupid that is?
But you were not just you were not just a few months when he came to office. He's actually been there for a while with you, and I understand that as ambassador, you send quarterly reports to the African Union.
Yes.
And those reports have been validated.
Absolutely.
With all of these things that he later on named.
Exactly.
So how was that possible?
This is the continuation of the stupidity I'm talking about. He has been here once. The diaspora came from all over the country to see him. They wanted to hear his message, his views on way forward for the African Union. The three entities that were listed in this stupid letter, Pan-African diaspora women, Pan-African diaspora youth, Pan-African diaspora men. Who does he think filled that auditorium in the African Union? Members of those three entities. These were social organizations that were created so they can come to the African Union, they can come home and talk about their issues. But also, I was able to educate them, inform them about the programs that African Union has pertaining to their particular demographic. There's something called management. My chairman needs to understand. You see, I wanted to make sure that we are focused in anything that we were doing. That's all I was doing. To turn around and say these organizations were not African Union programs, then you're trying to say diaspora are not African Union. On one hand, you want us to tell Africans that you are the African Union. But on the other hand, when they come to meet to talk about way forward for the African Union, suddenly they are no longer the African Union. How ridiculous is that?
Okay.
How ridiculous is that? And that's something else. While I was engaging the diaspora, it's all about economics. And when you look at what Chinese diaspora, to move China from a third world 30 years ago to where China is today, we have to pull our funds together. So yes, I did engage in conversations with the diaspora. I suggested them registering a diaspora bond. I suggested them registering a diaspora fund, a diaspora database. And guess what? As we speak, they have identified themselves. Diaspora are now looking to register a diaspora bond. Somebody's working on a database. And so my job is to be creative,
and to
organize the diaspora
together, yes.
And say, this is what you need to be doing. And then they run with it. What is wrong with that, Chairman Faki? Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing? Chairman Faki, I came to an office that had no budget. The first year, I did as much as I could. I can honestly tell you some of the trips I took and spent my own money because there was no budget. It didn't matter to me. Because when I was heading ADHI, we spent our own money. We never expected anything from the AU. So spending my own money on AU, it doesn't bother me because I am the African Union. So that's really no big deal. But for me, the second year, I then put in a request justifying why I needed a budget. And I listed the programs I needed to. Aggressive engagement of the African diaspora, aggressive engagement of the US government, because most people did not know that this mission existed. So I ran around like a chicken without a head. I attended meetings all day, all night. On the average, I didn't get home until 9, 10 o'clock at night, because I just wanted to make noise. Wherever I am, I'm talking about the African Union. I wanted people to know, because I was sick and tired of people telling me, we didn't know there was a mission. So I set out to deal with that. I traveled every invitation as much as I could. I traveled around the country. I've even gone outside the United States, still spreading the word of the African Union. Because first and foremost, if I was going to mobilize the diaspora, they must know about the African Union.
Sure.
How were the diaspora going to know about the African Union if we didn't engage them? So again, I'm not sure what Chairman Faki's understanding of what needs to be done is. How do you deliver results? Unless, of course, Chairman Faki, you're not interested in results. How do you deliver results? That's what I set out to do. And those things that I did, those programs I put in place, those ideas that I shared with the African...
He even brought issues about the beauty pageant that you organized once.
Let me tell you,
that has been described at various centers in Washington that have been there as ridiculous of a chair.
Yes.
How was that possible? And
that was an amazing event. You got to understand the main mandates are promoting Africa in the United States, engaging the U.S. government, and of course, galvanizing the African diaspora to participate in the development of Africa. That Miss AU, it covered everything. We display a display of African fashions, a display of African talent and beauty, a display, a lecture in history. Because what we did was the contestants and the judges had to know about the Berlin Conference, about the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization, about the OAU, the AU, and all the way to the African Continental Free Trade Area. It was a lesson in history. Many ambassadors attended. 5-hour event. Most of the time, ambassadors don't stay that long. I did not lose not a single ambassador.
Everybody was there?
Everybody stayed because it was exciting.
And we gathered that the tickets for that event were even sold by other people, and that you were not even involved in anything concerning tickets. So how come he's trying to put your name?
That's another lie again. Basically, what I did was...
I'm looking at the letter that he sent out trying to sabotage you.
It's insanity. It is insanity of the highest order. What I did was, the team that volunteered, keep in mind, I acquired an office that had 3 people who are basically secretaries, then a bookkeeper, and 1 officer who went on sabbatical 6 months after I came on board. How do I function in an office as big as important as Washington with 3 secretaries and a bookkeeper? Are you with me? So no one had the expertise for the help that I needed.
3 people in the office?
I'm not kidding you. 3 secretaries basically and a bookkeeper. They called him a finance officer.
How did you go about this? The whole of America?
Let me...
50 states.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying I run around like a chicken without a head. And where I needed to pull people from the diaspora, like Miss AU. I pulled in diaspora people with experience in doing pageants. This pageant, had I subcontracted to people who were going to charge, you're looking easily over $300,000. But the diaspora did it pro bono. And what I did was, because they spend a lot of their time, you know how Washington is. It's expensive. It's difficult to drive into Washington. Yeah. They use their own money for Uber, their own money for taxis. So I said, I will give you 100 tickets. And if you guys sell those tickets, that's how you can compensate yourself. Yes. So for Chairman Faki to say, I sold the pageant tickets and I kept the money, my goodness. Chairman Faki, do you know who I am? Do you really think that I would be interested in pageant money? Honestly, if you look at the offer I'm putting on, Chairman, it's $3,000. Okay. I will not spend my time taking a penny from the African Union. I give to the African Union. It is almost embarrassing that I have to discuss that.
You're very correct, because sometimes, even as a journalist, I understand that a lot of people try to step onto your personality and integrity, because They know you're firm, you are incorruptible, you're against corruption. And it's important because I just want to seize this opportunity to say that before, from what I've read about you, and before I get to meeting you, I know that you live in Tennessee, obviously, and like you've asked, truly, I think Ambassador is quite very well to do, and that is not publicity here. And sometimes it gets very frustrating when you do a very good job,
Yeah.
and somebody tries to dirty your reputation simply because you're standing up against injustice. Now, before we come back to this, I want to ask a question. What do you think about corruption? You know, because you are fighting hard about it. If you were in a revolution, for example, what you have started is a revolution, and the diaspora is coming there because they trust you,
Right.
they love you, they know you're accountable, you're transparent. What do you think about people who are involved in other revolutions and their leaders try to be corrupt and try to steal money from the masses who are contributing into fighting those kind of revolutions? Take, for example, if people, because there's the African bond that's coming up, how would it be if people contribute and this money disappears? So this is just going to be a general lesson to everybody who is into a revolution to understand how strategic it is. What do you think about corruption in revolutions?
The beauty of the bond, I'm glad you mentioned that. Everything that we are talking about initiated, of course, they were also saying Wakanda. Wakanda is a concept. It's going to be managed by the diaspora. So if you guys decide you are going to put your money together, raise this bond, and then proceed to mismanage it, guess what? You own it. And that's my position on that. If you guys set out to pull your money together, establish a bond, then you mismanage it, you deserve what you get. So that's why I'm hoping that when we come together as African diaspora, integrity is going to be the core of anything we do.
Excellent.
So when we manage it, I'm hoping that we can manage it in the most effective way that we can. And it is your entity, you manage it the way you want. You choose to mess it up, shame on you.
So would you say that if in the case of a revolution, is it right for people to condemn corruption, or you just say, okay, no, this is a revolution, let's just allow it, after everything is done, then we try to go after those who try to destroy the project?
No, we must go after it. My position on corruption is, let's not nitpicky corruption. Let's bring all the corruptors to boot. Corruption is a team sport. Don't tell me 50 billion is getting out of Africa, but then you don't tell me where it's going. If you know it's getting out of Africa, then trace it all the way. Corruption is a team sport. Let's talk about all illicit funds out of Africa. And believe me, there are many other players. The biggest corruption in Africa is coming from outside. The only thing I'm saying is I don't want the diaspora to be blind of that and only think corruption is only in Africa. Oh no, it is in Africa, but the bulk of it is coming from outside. That's all I want the diaspora to understand. Have a complete understanding of your situation, because if you're going to strategize on how to deal with it, understand the full picture, then you strategize properly. You see, if you strategize only for the 50 billion that's coming out of Africa from corruption, from various people that are playing whatever games they are playing, then you are leaving out, for example, my favorite one is France. 50 billion. Are you with me? How are you going to deal with that?
You're tough to have talked about France in that manner.
No, it is the truth. It is the truth. I have no problem saying it because it is the truth.
You think it doesn't matter speaking the truth. You can die for the truth. That's what everybody sees about you.
But that's okay. They want to kill me because I'm speaking the truth. They can have it.
And you pay the price already when you think so.
It's actually not a price, honestly. You see, I did not consider this a job. If I thought it was a job, I would not have taken it. If you were to put pros and cons, everything said no, 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 no. How do you go from making a 6-figure a month salary to a 5-figure a year salary? Are you with me? It's ridiculous. It wasn't about that. It was not about that.
It was about service to humanity.
It was service to humanity. As a matter of fact, if the truth be told, when I first came, I didn't think I would stay. And that's why it was easy to make that decision. I said, okay, I'll just go to Washington, I'll hang out for 6 months, and then after that, I'll tell Madam Zuma I couldn't do it. But you know what? It's only when I got into the position and I began to understand. I made a diagnosis. As a doctor, of course, I'm always looking at everything with what's the diagnosis and what is the treatment plan. But our lack of understanding of Africa as African diaspora was very apparent to me. And I sought out to say, until the African diaspora understand Africa for what it is, they will not be able to make the right decisions. Which is why my first video, I sat down, I organized my thinking, and I gave the story to the diaspora in a manner that I wanted the diaspora to know that our history is still alive and well today. We go to Europe from one part of Africa to the other because of the Berlin Conference. We can trade with each other from one country to the other because of the Berlin Conference. So diaspora needed to understand some of those fundamentals. And so because I was given the platform, I set out to educate the diaspora, to say, guys, we are being thrown a shiny object and running in that direction when the real issues are over here. You see, we suffer from this disease that goes back to Leopold, I remember, where when he sent out the missionaries, he told them, teach the Africans how to read, but not to reason. We are used to being spoon-fed information and we don't question it. I set out to dispel that. You see, this situation here, Berlin Conference, this is what it means in your daily life today. The Pact for the Continuation of Colonization, this is what it means today. The OAU, why did we fail? We failed because we were divided. And what has been done since that time? Many times, efforts. It's not that the leaders were not trying. They tried. The issue was raised year in and year out. But the beauty of it is that now we finally got a consensus. So 2018 becomes an amazing year. An amazing decision took place. And for that I say congratulations to the African heads of states. Now, they have agreed on the African Continental Free Trade Area. The onus is on us, the children of Africa, to now come together and do the implementation.
But you think with somebody like the chair who is behaving the way he's behaving, do you think the African Free Trade Continental area is going to go anywhere? Is there anything to worry
You see,
about?
based on this second letter that he wrote me, it really saddens me because the chair needs to have, he needs to surround himself with people who can protect him. He needs to surround himself with people who can advise him better. When you look at my programs for this year, his own chief of staff approved it. When he was uncomfortable with the diaspora activities, he actually referred my request to director of CIDO, which is the department that deals with the diaspora. The director of CIDO approved it, then sent it on to the chairman's chief of staff, who then approved it. There is an approval, even for this year. Miss AU was supposed to be held on December 14. So I don't even know what he was talking about when they say they are not AU program. Chief of staff, Abdoulaye Diop, approved it. And so when you look at it to say, why are these people not protecting the chair? But then because he is sitting in the big seat, he has to own it. He allowed these lies. How could he not have known? Also, like you say, quarterly, I send reports, activity reports. How could he have not have known? But even as late as this year, these programs were approved by...
2 weeks ago, when Dallas, in Texas, where there was the African Diaspora Conference, and I remembered vividly a young man testifying on how, based on your insight about things, the wonderful diagnosis that you've been doing, he actually formed a bank in the plane. And so the bank is worth more than $30 million US.
I think the capitalization is starting at 35 million.
35 million US dollars.
Yes.
I remember very well.
Yes.
And the whole hall went up in flames.
Yes.
And people were clapping for you. Now, Madam Ambassador, you know one thing you've not answered. You cut the charm. You bring these people together. What is really the problem that the AU saw, that he thinks that you can be pulled out? Because many say that without Ambassador Arikana, there would be an African Union embassy, but there will be no ambassador. Without Ambassador Arikana, there will be an African Union embassy, but there will be no ambassador.
You see, what's needed is thinking out of the box. As a woman, we black women, you give us $1, we feed an army. think outside the box. You give me a project, I look at it and say, how can I make it better? It's like in the Bible, those who were given seeds, the different brothers, and this one sowed here, this one sowed here, this one sowed here. The choice is yours. Are you making the right decisions as to what am I going to use this budget? I was given a budget. What is the best way to maximize my results from this budget? I am not just going to take it and sit on it and still at the end of the year the budget is spent, but there are no results. I don't operate like that. I got to have results. And so basically that's what I did. I needed value for money. That's how we all must operate. We needed value in terms of changing the image of Africa in the US government. That we did. We needed value in terms of galvanizing the African diaspora, realigning their thinking with the African Union, so they will stop constantly dogging the African heads of states, dogging the African Union. Far from it. They were doing it because they were not quite informed. But I realized once I start sharing all the activities, the progress being made, slowly the diasporas were having their eyes open. That's what we do. That's what my mission was about, to shed light and to bring us together.
And everybody came together.
Absolutely.
Because Dallas was amazing. Like
it was amazing.
Everywhere. And
it was amazing.
The discussion.
We had people from China, diaspora from China, diaspora from Europe, diaspora from the continent.
I know.
Can you believe it?
I met some people from Zambia, from Uganda,
yes,
a lot of them.
Yes.
And Madam Ambassador, we want to thank you for trusting National Telegraph, for always inviting us to your event. And don't forget, we'll follow you all the way because as a news organ, we believe in your policies. And we think that you're doing a great job, and we must commend you for this. Going forward,
actually, before you go forward,
there
are a couple other items on this letter here. They have this African Electoral Integrity Initiative. Let me tell you about that one.
Yes.
This team that came from the AU.
Just very quickly, for those of you who are just joining, this is National Telegraph Television, and we're operating from Washington. Here with me is the former African Union ambassador to the United States, Dr. Arikana Chimberikwa. As a matter of fact, the AU chair illegally terminated her contract, and when she wrote to the African Union about her entitlements, what was supposed to be paid her, which are just within the enshrined in the documents of the African Union, the AU chair actually congratulated her, appreciated her, but when he saw that a lot of public opinion and media was weighing towards in favor of the ambassador, he then removed another letter.
No, he sent a team.
Yeah, a team came over to Washington, and then later they brought out this letter accusing the ambassador, Ambassador Arikana, of forming some of this. I'm going to read. The African Union Africa Diaspora Health Initiative. Ambassador has
which we already addressed that.
You also have the Africa Electoral Integrity Initiative.
And that one, let me tell you.
Yes.
It was a letter that came to the mission addressed to that entity. It was a simple matter of saying, we don't have this entity here.
Yeah, I worked from IRS, from the tax department. I remember that. Sometimes I get wrong mails in my box.
Exactly. And you know IRS, their records are not always up to date.
Yeah.
If it's a company that's no longer in business, IRS is not going to know that.
Because of course that building was not initially of the African Union.
Exactly.
So like where I live, sometimes I have mails of former people coming there.
Absolutely. The only thing that should have been done with that one is say return to sender. But what did the bookkeeper, this finance officer do? Give it to them as if I was doing something. I have no idea what that entity is.
It's very normal for them to have investigated it.
Not only that, yes, look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
It's easy.
Who has this company?
Exactly.
I've seen that.
But you know what? It's easy to just throw any debt and to see what will stick.
Well, unfortunately, Africa is very smart, and people are exposed. People know the truth.
Oh, yeah, of course.
One of the things I know is that you built an incredible reputation and integrity in the past. And the reason why the African diaspora comes towards you is because they believe in your initiative and they know you're honest and transparent. And just to let you know that on behalf of my company, we'll be putting the $1,000 in Houston when we come to Houston.
Wonderful.
So we're going to talk about it probably tomorrow or next tomorrow. We should be able to
Wonderful.
talk about that. We don't want to put everything in one show, because there's a lot that you have to tell us about. Okay, going further, he also talked of the African Union Trading Company. What's that?
Never heard of it. I only saw it in this letter. Never heard of it before. But again, you can look it up. Find out who registered it.
Yeah, and who's running it.
Who's running it.
Right.
I'd never heard of it until I saw this letter.
Okay. And then he talked again of the Wakanda.
Yes.
Wakanda One Village Project.
I tell you, that's an exciting idea. It's an idea. It's a concept. Again, I'm saying to the diaspora, how do we reverse the brain drain?
Mm-hmm.
We are the ones who are going to reverse the brain drain.
Mm-hmm.
Money alone is not going to give us the Africa that we want.
Mm-hmm.
The truth, if the truth be told, the capacity that Africa needs to build Africa is here in the diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we come together, organize ourselves, so we can go home and build the capacity that we need? So I have a concept that I said, let's look at building 5 Wakanda villages, African Diaspora Centers of Excellence, where we will start with a teaching hospital to train all the healthcare capacity, a university with technical colleges to train all the other specialists needed in the various sectors. We'll have hotels for hospitality. We will do infrastructure. We will do pharmaceuticals, which is a big one for me. But drugs for Africa is a serious problem that's killing millions of people every day. We'll have a manufacturing plant. We will have power plants, agriculture, big agricultural college. All the basics of development will be in this new city. All of it built by the diaspora in collaboration with their brothers and sisters on the continent.
And this project was really
it's a concept that I have presented to the diaspora. Implementation is up to them. Mine is to strategize. It's not what a leader does.
That's what a leader should do.
Strategize, yes, and say, guys, this is what we can do. And diaspora are very, very excited about that. And I am suggesting that we should raise a diaspora bond, $1 billion for each region, to kickstart the Wakanda. Because we have to train the capacity that we need.
This Wakanda village is an initiative like Madam Ambassador is talking about, and she's not the one running it. It's for the diaspora.
The diaspora, absolutely.
Where you become a partner, a stakeholder.
It's for the diaspora. Again, Chairman Faki failed to understand exactly how things are done. It's as if I'm supposed to just come and sit around.
It would appear, a lot of people were saying that you were having fit more. You were better for the post of the African chair. Maybe he got a little bit scared.
No, I think what bothered him was the response from the African diaspora.
Yeah,
that was a shock. They didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming either. I did not realize the diaspora would come out in such force in support of me. So that also was a shock.
And some people will not have anyway. Wakanda, I think if you watched Black Panther,
yes,
the movie about Black Panther, that is where you get this name Wakanda.
That's right.
And never freeze. It's so beautiful.
There's one other issue.
Yeah.
He mentioned that I registered companies with my State Department ID. What a hogwash! Which company did I register? Which company did I register? And again, saying I'm giving people diplomatic status. From what platform?
By our investigation, we've also noticed that all of these things were just fabricated. The fabrication. And
let me tell you something they did. The steering committee that I had created, for the purposes of them now looking within themselves and finding a board that can then do the same things that I did when I was chairman of the ADHI. They drafted letters telling them that you have nothing to do with the African Union. And I thought to myself, and then they gave me the letters to sign. I looked at the letters. I thought, you know what? You don't want ADHI to be part of the African Union? I'll take it. So I signed. They were telling them that you're not part of the African Union. How do you tell an African diaspora that you're not part of the African Union? How do you do that? No, Chairman Faki, we are the African Union. You cannot stop us from being the African Union. This African Union is our entity. It is our gift from our Pan-African fathers. Kwame Nkrumah, Haile Selassie, Ben Bella, you name them. They're doing flips in their graves because we the children of Africa are coming together, and they're doing flips because the African heads of states finally nailed it by giving us and approving the African Continental Free Trade Area. It is our organization. We support it fully. If you are a problem and you cannot run it, then you need to step aside.
That's a strong one. Now, about a week ago, I received a call from Addis, and somebody, based on my journalistic tenants, I'm not going to reveal the name. Somebody tried to tell me about a couple of things, and the person was specific that this letter, maybe this letter was done. That's about a week ago or so. That this letter was done. I still have. If you look at my phone very carefully, you see something I saved at this, just to show you, to be sure what I'm saying, and to see what the person said. I'm going to get it here now quickly. Okay, so we're just trying to pull this out very quickly from Ambassador, and just to let you know that okay, you see, this is Addis. You see from Addis,
yes,
and then this is the letter that was sent to me. Remember, I forwarded it to you.
Okay,
perfect. So the person told me that, and it's from the Cyprus of the African chair.
Yeah.
This is no kind of trying to defend the ambassador or defend the African chair, but I'm just trying to say what the person said, that the African Union, the people who matter, they regret that decision.
Okay.
And the truth is that they can't bring you back because they feel that it's going to be a humiliation on the decision,
yes,
that was wrongly taken. You must have heard things like this. I mean, this is somebody from Addis that told me. Like I just pulled my phone and showed you.
Yes.
Yes.
I've had several people call me as well, have the same sentiment that he just made a mistake.
But if they were going to ask you to come back, what are you going to do?
Oh no, I'm done. I'm done.
All right. I see. That is quite very funny.
Yeah.
I know.
No. The chairman knows he made a mistake. But sadly, really, the people around him are doing him a serious disfavor. Serious disfavor. This nonsense should never have come out. This nonsense should never have come out.
Yeah.
But they let it go.
Okay. Now, I think we have talked the letter. If you find this letter on the internet, we're going to publish this, and we'll publish Madame's response on the National Telegraph. It was dated 15 November 2019 in Addis, and there's a whole lot of fallacies. As a media man, I've investigated, and I stand on very firm authority to say that if I were a judge, it will be dismissed at first view. So we're going to publish this, and then so that everybody's going to read, and we'll also bring you a next show to exclusively try to analyze this. But let's look at other issues. What do you have for the African diaspora? I think we have exhausted this letter quite well, except
African diaspora, yeah. I say, we are the African Union. Africa is home. No one is going to stop us from going home. We are going to go home, and we will build the Africa that we want. Chairman Faki cannot interrupt that decision. Chairman Faki cannot interfere with that program.
But Chairman Faki could have some friends, African head of states who are pro-French and who might not like the way you're biting at France. And,
again,
it's not going to be a big
but you know what?
stumbling block for you, Madam Ambassador.
No, it's not about a stumbling block. It's what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong, plain and simple.
I like that.
Anybody that has a problem with truth, like I said, if I'm burning you, I keep burning you. Are you okay with that? Should I just keep burning you?
No.
And you keep saying, ouch.
So truth is truth.
Truth is truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can be hated.
What we actually need to do.
You can be hated, but just speak the truth.
Speak the truth. But here's where we come in. When are we going to say enough is enough? When are we going to look these people in the face and say enough is enough? Stop it. That's what needs to happen. So I'm so glad to hear what the president of Benin, the position he has taken. And I sure hope that all the Francophone African countries, they join the president of Benin, and they must all demand their deposit from France. Because you see, France is easy. We can calculate how much was deposited since 1958.
So we're going to come to that, but let me just reiterate what Madam Ambassador said, and this is what everybody watching from the African continent, we have thousands of you watching. People are watching from Kenya, from Zimbabwe, and I just want to say hello to Danielle, our correspondent in Kenya, who is watching. He shared this video on the African Diaspora, United States of Africa. I'm sure you're aware of that very huge platform in Kenya. We also want to say hello to one of our correspondents who is watching from the Gambia. We're thinking of you, Pauline. We also want to say hello to Patience T from the Gambia, that's our correspondent, and those who are watching us from wherever. We're thinking of Michel Biantom in Burkina Faso. As of now, National Telegraph is present in 17 African countries, and we're trying to build a network. Now, the ambassador said one thing very crucial and important, that truth is the truth. Speak it and let them kill you.
Thank you.
So that is the slogan that I will leave this studio today with, and I always quote the former African Union ambassador, truth is truth, plain and simple. So anywhere in Africa, speak the truth, stand for the truth. You'll be hated, madam, and you know the truth is that even your friends that you've made in the past, once you start speaking a new truth that does not favor them, they become your enemy. You agree with that?
But you know, I've not experienced too much of that.
Mm-hmm.
If they do, they're not telling me.
Yeah.
What I have received instead is overwhelming support. I had a guest at my house who is an African who from one of the former French colonies who lives in France, and he has a very high level position there. He said, Ambassador, even the Frenchmen didn't know about the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization.
That's true. But
they too are questioning.
Like top politicians who have been enjoying the benefits, and that you're speaking up can affect them. You think they're going to be happy with you if they were ever happy with you before?
But I tell you what, we don't care what they think. We continue to suffer as Africans.
That is the key.
As a mother, my question is why? I can't allow it anymore. Enough is enough. And like I often say, if you African men don't deal with it, well, us African women, we are going to deal with it. But this is enough is enough.
The truth is the truth.
The truth is this truth. Something has got to change. And it is just that simple.
All right, thank you so much. If you just joined us, this is National Telegraph Television, and of course we're here with Ambassador Arikana Chumba, we call Dr. Arikana, former African Union ambassador to the United States, to Washington to be precise, and we're happy that you're here with us. So before we go, we have touched a lot on this letter of 15 November. We're going to expatiate on it. We want to make this show quite brief and compact so that everybody is going to watch afterwards. We're going to put it on YouTube. We have over 5,000 people who have gotten into this show live, and it's going up to 7,000, and many people watching live at this time, every part of Africa. You have a word for the over close to the huge number of Africans who are watching at this time, Dr. Arikana. What do you have for the African diaspora?
To my fellow African diaspora, I want you to know that I'm very grateful for the support that you have given me, but also more importantly, I know who you are. I know what you're capable of doing. You are some of the most hardworking, most intelligent people I know. It will be a shame if we sit back with everything that we know and all the wealth that we have collectively and allow our Africa come July of 2020, when the African Continental Free Trade Area is being implemented. It would be a shame if you stayed on the sidelines and allow others outside Africa to come and take over your Africa. Let's come together. Let's respond to the call from our African heads of states. They're asking us to speak with one voice, as one Africa, as one continent. That means we must unite. The misunderstandings of yesteryear, the self-hate must go away. Berlin Conference must die. The legacy of colonization, please decolonize yourself. If you're suffering from the legacy of slavery, please make it a thing of the past. Because this era is calling for our unity. As children of one mother Africa, let's unite and let's go home.
Now, before we go, one last message for a few minutes to the AU chair who tried to sabotage and then run down your reputation to no avail. What do you have to tell him? I don't expect you to be nice anyway, but you have.
Well, no, it is the truth.
Yeah, sure.
You know, based on the analysis that I've given, you see, I'm not making things up. I'm still back to the truth. Based on this letter and the accusations that are blatantly false, accusations with information that is in your office, Chairman, you have made a mockery of the institution. You have made a mockery of the 1.27 billion people on the continent. Maybe you need to consider stepping aside.
Well, that's a very strong one. We're going to leave it here. Madam Ambassador, thank you so much. You have any other thing you want to add before we close the show?
I think I'm done.
Thank you so much. Well, Thank you so much. If you're just joining us, don't forget this is National Telegraph Television. Go to our Facebook page. You can click like, click on follow, and also turn on the notification button, the see first button. And you can also follow me on my personal page, Eric Tato, and I will also let you know what page Ambassador is using so that you can go there and follow. We might have Ambassador back in the studio maybe tomorrow, Tuesday. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the event that is coming up in Houston, so that everybody who is around the United States or elsewhere, you might like to come there, because that is going to be the engine to get Africa going and fight the corruption in Africa.
It's all about economic liberation. And with the diaspora among us, we have enough capacity to turn our Africa around. Everybody must make that commitment to do their part.
Thank you so much. Once more, I want to thank you very, very much for trusting National Telegraph, and we wish you a very wonderful Sunday and a blessed start of the week tomorrow. And it is bye from Washington. Until we see you again, goodbye.
You forgot to mention, there's a petition, please sign it.